here in Uniontown to help you select the right protection at the right price. Nate will make sure you understand your coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. With State Farm Agent Nate Ferguson, it's easy to make the right choice. Just call Nate when you want the real deal.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Think about the last time you thanked yourself for something. Maybe it was that me time you took last Tuesday, or finally learning Italian. Want to do something you'll really thank yourself for later? Start creating a plan for your financial goals today. State Farm Agent Nathan Ferguson is right here in Uniontown to help you look at the things you want to save for and build a plan to set you up for success. The earlier you start planning, the better off you will be. Call State Farm Agent Nathan Ferguson today, then thank yourself later. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Have some fun with WMBS and the Pennsylvania Lottery now through the end of March. Just be the sixth caller to 724-438-4593 whenever you hear
Money, 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 money.
And you could win 15 cash payout scratch-off tickets. It's the new $2 instant game from the Pennsylvania Lottery with 10 top prizes of $20,000. Pick up the game and play today. The Pennsylvania Lottery benefits older Pennsylvanians every single day. Must be 18 years or older to play, and of course, please play responsibly.
Are you looking to list or sell your house? Now is the time to let the professionals at Caldwell Banker Laurel Ridge Realty help you with all of your real estate needs. Caldwell Banker Laurel Ridge Realty has two convenient locations to better serve you. In Uniontown area, 724-437-7100, or in Connellsville area, 724-628-7200, and speak with one of our real estate professionals. Visit our website, caldwellbanker.com. We have been proudly serving Western Pennsylvania area for over 30 years and look forward to helping you with all of your real estate needs. Broker Paul Borge Jr.
Did you know that you have a choice for your physical therapy provider? NovaCare Rehabilitation offers same-day appointments, and oftentimes you don't need a prescription from your doctor to see us. We will make sure that you are treated as an individual and will work directly one-on-one with you to help achieve your goals. You have tried the rest, now try the best. NovaCare, Delaware Avenue in Uniontown. Phone 724-437-0556 to schedule your appointment today.
There ain't a darker night than the ones I've seen.
590 AM and 101.1 FM WMBS, 30 degrees at 3:15 on this Tuesday afternoon. Time for Energy First, live on WMBS and on Facebook Live. And good afternoon, ladies. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Good. As the announcer said, this is Energy First with Sarah and Jen. This is episode 5, and we are shortly going to be welcoming Yemi from CNX, their Chief Excellence Officer. But we just want to run through a few things like we always do initially first. First of all, we wanted to announce we formally have a couple of sponsors. So Women's Energy Network, our wonderful ladies over there, have sponsored the podcast, as well as an Abnovo Ecology, which is Michael Curran. He's sponsoring us as well, so we're super excited. We do have a few more in the pipeline, but are always accepting more sponsorships of our efforts, raising awareness about the energy sector here in Appalachia. And I just want to do a very brief kind of run through of upcoming events for the remainder of March. So March 15th.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, SP local lectures. We have the scale remediation in the Marcellus Shale, calcium carbonate and iron sulfide at Cephalos in Carnegie. March 16th, we have Mug Madness Happy Hour at All Stars in Cannonsburg. That is 12 to 3.
The Great Gathering.
Oh, shoot. Yes, that's tomorrow evening, right? So the Great Energy Gathering is going to be at the Hilton Garden Inn. Sarah and I will both be there. I think we're going to be there super early now to set up. And we are going to be speaking with Americans for Prosperity while we're there as well, very briefly. I think there are a couple of state reps we're going to have a brief conversation with. So super excited for anybody that's coming out to that. March 21st, we have the APA Speaker Dinner at Bella Sarah in Cannonsburg. March 23rd is the AADE Drill Bowl Student Job Fair, and March 24th is the AADE Top Golf Outing as well. And then I will be updating April shortly. And I don't want to waste too much time, but I do want to run through our schedule is updated just a little bit. We feel a little bit deja vu because we pre-recorded next week's episode this morning with Chris Halverson, and it went phenomenally. So hopefully you join us next week for that.
He's a great guy.
He is. We love Chris.
Him.
So the 21st is Chris Halverson. He is CEO of Pin Oak Energy. 28th, we have our sponsor Michael Curran from Abnova Ecology coming on, who sent us some swag, which is amazing. Hint, hint, wink, wink. April 4th, we're actually welcoming Jennifer Hoffman from Olympus Energy.
That's going to be a good one.
It is, absolutely. John McEvers from Intero on the 11th. We have Bill Lucas from Junior Achievement confirmed for the 18th. Of April, and then May 2nd, Lauren Anderson from MSC is going to be joining us. The 16th of May is Tiffany Culp from Three Rivers Royalties. The 23rd, we're toying with the idea of doing something called an impact episode. And that's where we would have, and we want to do these, I think, periodically, where we have several local businesses that have been directly impacted by the energy sector, just coming on and telling their stories about what it's meant to them, having the resurgence of oil and gas here in Appalachia. Maybe tell us some stories of, what it's meant to them, their families, etc. I think the owner of All Stars is going to join us, along with some other individuals. And that's where we are so far as the schedule is concerned. We do have some openings and we have some feelers out, but we're always welcoming more individuals to get in touch with us, to agree to come on. And I think Yemi's just about to join us. He's just called in. So Yemi is the Chief Excellence Officer at CNX Resources. So if we could welcome Yemi. Are you on the line?
Yeah, Yemi is here. Hopefully you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. So, Yemi, we like to start our conversations with our guests, just allowing them to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, your background, your education.
Yeah, well, I'm a first-generation immigrant. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you bringing me on your show to actually tell my story. So hopefully I don't bore your audience or bore you with the story.
Absolutely not.
But yes, I am a first-generation immigrant. I came to the United States in 2001, and I grew up in Nigeria, in West Africa, and came to WVU for mining engineering, for my master's in mining engineering.
That's Sarah's school, too. She went to WVU.
Let's go!
Let's go Mountaineers! Yeah. And so, I mean, I spent quite some time in the campus in Morgantown there. And I got recruited out of college right after my master's by CNX. At that time, it was called Sol, by CNX. And ever since then, I've been working with them. I mean, my upbringing, I literally grew up with a single mom. We were five, smack in the middle of all the children. And like I said, I'd lost my dad when we were younger. So she raised each and every one of us, sent us to school. Quite disciplined lady at that point in time.
We didn't like it. She must have been a strong lady to raise five of you by herself. That's amazing. Yeah,
we didn't like it, and we were very scared of her. But all the lessons that she taught us still resonates with each and every one of us today. And I mean that's the bedrock of what I've stood on. That has led me all through my career. I also share the same thing with my kids. And one of the things I remember my parents said, what she told us then was, "Hey, look, it's not my responsibility to teach you how to be wealthy. It's my responsibility to teach you that if you fall down, you know how to get up." And that's the same thing I taught my kids. That hey, we don't expect anything from mom and dad regarding wealth to transfer or anything. But one thing is that we'll teach you integrity, we'll teach you faith, and respect. And when you do stumble, when you do fall, you can get up and continue in life and be successful in doing it. So that's just a short story regarding my upbringing.
I love that.
That's cool. J-Mac, I don't think you even know this, but I was supposed to have an internship with Consol Energy whenever I had my business degree, but I went to the beach instead. I had to go to the beach. I was 19.
Well, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. So there was obviously a reason that you made that choice, but they are an absolutely phenomenal company. They have an amazing history, really deep roots here in Appalachian, and we'll certainly touch on that, a little bit more as we move through. So, Yemi, you've been with CNX since 2003. That's over 20 years, and I mean that's just relatively remarkable, both for the oil and gas sector, but I think in modern employment period, to kind of have that history with the company. It's not as common as it used to be. Can you walk us through your Consol/CNX journey? In those 20 years.
Yeah, if someone had told me then, when I was joining the company that I was going to be with the company for 20 years, I'd have said, yeah, you're out of your mind. But it's fascinating just looking back now. I came in as a geomechanical engineer, I'm all for rock mechanics. And the company provided a lot of opportunities. Again, me coming in as an engineer, I had opportunity in finance. I had opportunity in strategic planning. I had opportunity in operations. And then being an executive. So I'm like I said, I started as an intern, quite frankly. And then from there, got into the company full time as an engineer.
Could be working together.
If she'd made a different choice.
Yeah, and then from being from the engineering, I joined the strategic planning team that then transformed into the financial planning and analysis team. This is pretty much handling all the budget for the entire company. And then from there, I went into the operations team. Well, I went actually into business development. And then from business development, I went into operations. So you could see the broad spectrum of opportunities that a company can provide for career development and pretty much, continued education, like I call it. And you always want to be part of a company like that. That provides you a lot of skills to broaden your experience and give you opportunities as it presents itself. So that's what's been fascinating about CNX since I joined them, and that's why I remain 20 years counting.
Yeah, and I think that's really given you will have definitely given you a very broad and all-encompassing base for what you currently do. For CNX, you've kind of touched on everything.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
So you currently are the Chief of Excellence Officer.
Chief Excellence Officer. Correct.
Chief Excellence Officer. What is that?
So for every company, I mean, you can look at it. For every company, I mean, every company professes excellence in operations, excellence in execution, excellence in what they do. From our standpoint, we wanted to make it truly a responsibility, for the company and for an individual. And that's where I came in. I mean, my start regarding being Chief Excellence Officer, I was responsible for all operational and corporate support for the entire company. You can name it, probably from land to IT to HR to you name it. That was my responsibility. So with time, we started kind of focusing in areas. Now those areas are pretty much running and humming. One of my biggest responsibility now is, kind of the establishing a strategic vision, which is the Appalachia First. I don't know whether you guys have heard it, but that's one of my key focus at this point in time, and also supporting our teams as they continue to execute excellence, in excellence in the field and also from the corporate standpoint.
And before we move on to Appalachia First, if you don't mind, and keeping with the theme of the investment that CNX has put into yourself and many of the other longstanding employees at the company, I mean, CNX are kind of known in the basin for consistently delivering groundbreaking company and community initiatives. I think more so than a lot of companies in the basin.
You guys are all over LinkedIn.
Yeah, and you're very involved in our local communities. I mean, you have the CNX Foundation, the Mentorship Academy, the HQ at CNX, which is, I think, just a phenomenal idea and use of that space. I was wondering, but before we moved on to Appalachia First, could you tell us a little bit about the CNX Foundation?
Yeah. So it's amazing. You actually covering that spread with regards to what we are involved in, and for your listeners, I mean, first thing I'll say is, I mean, you got to look at like we started here looking at my background and how a company and a community totally wrapped their arms around me for me to be successful. And that is the philosophy of CNX, almost 160-year-old company. That is not that's not by mistake. That is not by a fluke or something. This is a methodical, view, a methodical, strategic view of how a responsible company should be. And with that, we've been heavily ingrained in the society. We've been heavily ingrained in Appalachia. We're not kind of become, our executives, they live around here. We all live around here. It's not like some other companies that, hey, those executives are far in a different area of the United States. So with that said, the foundation aspect, the key or the bedrock of the foundation is how we invest in our local community. How do we support our local community? We are what we are because of our local community. I mean, that's where we've gotten our talents from. Those are the people who support all our execution day in, day out. And that's where all the innovation comes from. And we have a partnership. And that will always continue. And that's why we continue to invest in it. Like yesterday, I was at an opening, pretty much a visiting event that we had at Penn Highland. And this is our investment, our commitment to dealing with opioids within the region. And you probably have seen a few of some of our investments also in the past, regarding broadband to help internet connectivity in Greene County, and that's how we invest. You always hear me say invest. The reason why I say it's an investment is because we get benefit, a significant benefit that some people don't realize that we get from this investment. The HQ aspect of it is us providing. Look, we have this huge building, and we have space. And there are, a lot of enterprises out there, a lot of nonprofit businesses out there, or diversity-owned businesses out there who don't have, a good space for them to actually run their business, especially when their business is very impactful to the community. We opened up our own business, our own office to accommodate them and to help them. And the last one that you mentioned was the Mentorship Academy. This is CNX, creating a platform to allow, some of these kids, especially, the underserved and underrepresented communities to have, a place, an outlet to learn skills so that they can get and have opportunities for family-sustaining wages. Again, these are people these are young men and women who have decided, hey, look, maybe college is not for me. And as such, I still want to have a good opportunity, a good experience, a good base to be able to enter the workforce with the right skills to enter the workforce to be making family-sustaining wages. That's what we are about. That is how, and that's what has sustained us for almost 160 years, and hopefully will sustain us beyond that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're effectively investing in your future workforce. You're making, your potential future workforce better. You're making their home lives better. Just everything. It's
one thing that really resonated with me is you guys said that you are who you are due to the community, but really the community is who they are due to companies like you. Like, you guys invested $30 million in the past decade into the community. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really mind-blowing when you kind of think of the scale of impact that has on our local communities. It's just, I don't know, it's refreshing and wonderful.
And the HQ Center has really affected us too. I'm going there tomorrow for Women's Energy Network. You guys have let us use the space there, and that's really beneficial for us.
Yeah, hopefully I can see you when you come around.
I'll come say hi. I'll be there at 9:15 tomorrow after the gym.
All right, I should be here by then.
I'll come shake your hand.
Perfect. Now we've discussed, some of the initiatives that CNX has in regards to investing in our communities, developing the individuals within our communities to create a future dependable workforce, but to make their, day-to-day lives better as well. And you had touched on earlier the kind of vision for CNX, which is the Appalachia First. And I mean, there's a lot that can be read into those words, and I was just wondering if you could give us in a very broad sense, what does Appalachia First mean specifically to you, Yemi?
Yeah, it's simple. Produce it here first, use it here first. That's the simple, statement that encapsulates the entire Appalachia First. So when you're looking at it from my standpoint, and if I look at it from a selfish standpoint, saying, hey, look, we produce a lot of energy, clean energy within the Appalachian region, low cost, efficient, and reliable energy in Appalachia First. We want to be able to use it in our region, first of all, to develop our region, provide opportunities for everybody, provide opportunities for my children in this region. And, before we start thinking about exporting our low-cost energy elsewhere for them to actually use it to improve their own economy and ship us back products that we pay more. Let's build those products here. Let's use the energy that we have here to build our economy, to build our environment, to build our future first in the Appalachian region.
Absolutely. It makes complete sense. I actually took a phone call, and at first, I hate to say this, I thought that the lady was joking, that it was one of our friends joking with me. It was in November or December. She gave me the name of the charity that she was working for. She was a lawyer from Texas who was calling on behalf of this charity that was raising funds for individuals struggling with either lack of nat gas or the inability to pay for nat gas in like the Maine area. And I was like, is this a joke? Or is this someone that's punking me, that's calling me, asking me this? I'm like, and she said, no, this is a valid, charity that has been set up to help these individuals, which just blows my mind, that we're having to set up charitable organizations to help our own citizens in a region that would be very easily accessible for us to send this product to physically, that is under our feet right now. I mean, it's just mind.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's mind-boggling to look at it. Like you said, it's under our feet. It's abundant, and yet we have people who are struggling to actually be able to afford that same energy. Yeah. It's almost unheard of.
It is.
I for one, and this is one of the things. I was in Ohio last week, and this was one of the point that I made to the crowd there. Like I said, I came from Nigeria. Nigeria is very, very rich in energy resources. Very rich. It's probably within the first 10 in the entire world when it comes to energy production. The country lacks energy usage. The electrification is less than 50%.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, and that's because, there's a lot of things one can point to that is causing that. But when we're talking about the Appalachian region, that's something I don't ever want to see occur here, wherein someone right in the midst, it's almost as if, you're swimming in a pool and yet you're very, very thirsty. It's just a wrong analogy to actually have. And that's why we are so passionate regarding the Appalachia First, wherein we can improve the economic status of everybody within the Appalachian region. We can build it so well that we start to export economics, better economics to other regions around us. We have enough resource to actually build that and to benefit from that. Let's start leveraging it.
Absolutely. And, like you mentioned, Appalachia is ideally situated. We have these fossil fuels directly under our feet right now. We could have essentially become a hub of skilled labor job creation right here, which is something that you guys at CNX are also, trying to invest in and develop. But in doing this development, we effectively also then have the opportunity to lower our nation's global carbon emissions. Can you expand on this? I know that's part of the Appalachia First vision as well.
Yeah. First thing that you hit on is the fact that the energy source is abundant. It is here, And when you start, one of the things that a lot of people have not realized, like if we're talking about Pennsylvania, even this entire region, we've reduced our carbon footprint by close to over 40% since 2005, purely because of natural gas that we have right here. It is clean, and it is also what we call, CNX, we don't look at natural gas as a bridge, a transition, a fuel source. We look at it as a catalyst. This is what will be the catalyst for cleaner environment, will be the catalyst for manufacturing. So the more we embrace it, I think the better for us when it comes, again, we start talking about this hydrogen economy of the future. Natural gas is going to be the cornerstone feedstock for that hydrogen economy of the future. So again, it is the purpose energy. It is the purpose resource that we have here to achieve, from my standpoint, to achieve it all. When you're looking at economic growth, when you're looking at environmental benefit or environmental impact and air quality, it can achieve it all. We just have to embrace the right policy and start leveraging it.
Yeah, I mean, the carbon emissions as a whole across our country, not just the 14% since 2005 here in Appalachia, since 2005 have reduced by 1% consistently across the entire country with all of our operations, and I don't think that is explained very clearly.
And it's due to natural gas. So one thing that I learned from your Appalachia First report was in 2011, coal was at 47% and natural gas was at 14%. In 2021, it changed from coal being 47% to 22%, and natural gas being from 14% to 38%. And that is the largest contributor to why we have these carbon emissions.
Agreed.
Agreed. Carbon emission reductions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I could have been bad.
But one key thing there is, part of that, the big part of that is that change, the switch from coal to natural gas. Like you said, we still have a percentage, so there's still a lot of opportunities. But in addition to that, there's also a lot of opportunities, also, cleaner, when it comes to some of this renewable natural gas, when we're capturing emissions from methane emissions from areas and using it for beneficial purposes. So there is still significant opportunity for use for natural gas in emissions reduction and environmental quality development across the region.
Well, I think that point's missed a lot of the time, is that we are constantly and consistently as an industry and, CNX as a company, developing new technologies to do exactly what you have just said. We are investing huge amounts of money into research into hydrogen and its processes and how we can use these things. We are not under any illusion that we are losing energy via these means, and the most logical thing to do is to learn how to recapture them, right? We're already producing them. And I don't think that part of the story is told very often.
That is the American story right there.
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned, it is continuous improvement. If you look at, CNX, we just released a report yesterday regarding even our operational footprint, our operational emissions. And I think people will be able to see the dramatic reduction, even in emissions. Appalachian region itself is the lowest methane intensity producing region in the world. And let alone even, operators are also even driving themselves even further in reducing, methane emissions from the operation. Look, we're incentivized. We want to sell every molecule of methane that is coming out of the ground. So, and that's why we're working hard and investing to reduce any and every single emission that is out there. In addition to that, like you said, when we're talking about, all these other opportunities for reduction of carbon as a whole, one area that people don't even really talk about is in transportation. Transportation is one of the largest, emission industry in the entire world. And even, when you consider the U.S., there's this tremendous amount of opportunity when you're looking at transportation to displace the heavier fuel and use natural gas. And by doing so, significantly reducing the emission footprint of the region and the United States. I'll probably argue the entire world as a whole. They're doing it right now. They're doing it in India. They're doing it especially in the Asia Pacific. There's no reason why we can't do it here and leverage the resource that we have here because you're reducing emission. The other benefit, significant benefit, is it's lower cost. So you're helping reduce the cost of energy, especially for the underserved and the underrepresented. The lower income communities. You're reducing costs, but at the same time, you're also improving air quality as a result.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, we should be sourcing locally. I love the Appalachia First, but we're still importing. And one thing that really put it into perspective for me was reading your report again, that we're importing 21.1 BTUs, which is like the things that you said it was equivalent to. So, for example, flying a 747 plane around the world, what was it? 1.4 times. 1.4, was it 1.4 or 1.4 million? Times. I can't remember. I don't know. But we're like powering all passenger vehicles in the U.S. for 16 months. Like just the scale of, being able to
import that we're utilizing. Absolutely.
Why are we doing that?
Yeah, that's
why we have it here.
It is an age-old question. Why in the world are we importing? And sometimes when you kind of like look at it, it's amazing how you look at how the whole back and forth of the importation and exportation, especially of jet fuel or even general fuel that we have, it doesn't make any sense. We should be able to displace every single import with the natural the local resources that we have. It does not make any sense. We should not be importing any energy because we are flushed with it. We have it in abundance here. And those are part of the policies that we are fighting against, and we're speaking up against and saying, let's get smart here.
Yeah. But conversely, we have seen little growth within the renewable sector within the same geographic area over the past 10 years. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, the renewables, if I start, I might take over.
We'll control you. We'll control you.
Okay.
Let it go. That's why we're here.
So one aspect of it, there's a lot of challenges, and this is what people don't really realize when it comes to renewables. It's now, I don't know whether it's a fashionable term that is all in everybody's vocabulary now, but not truly understanding what it entails. People talk about solar, people talk about wind, and they talk about renewables. Sometimes, I joke with some of my friends that this whole renewables thing is almost starting like the Y2K craze that we had back in the early 2000s or in the late 1990s. But the point here is, first of all, what people, you ask, why do we have so, a slim margin of it still, out there? One, it's very expensive. It is expensive. There's a lot of subsidies, the future of you and I, that is going into trying to start renewables. They're very expensive. And, when you add them up, the whole point of it on the emissions footprint of renewables here is the fact that they're not zero emission energy sources.
Isn't the sun free?
people need to get that out of their mind because the materials, the minerals, the components, the elements, they have to be mined. Well, it's simple for us to actually say, hey, it's coming, we're importing it from China or Malaysia or, somewhere. Well, where it is being made, where it is being mined there, they're not using clean energy. They're using coal. China is using coal significantly. So all of that, when you look at the life cycle of all of these products, they are non-zero. There is emissions associated with them. Now, the other aspect of it that I'm very, very passionate about, which, sometimes I find it moves me somewhat sentimentally, is the fact that the labor practices associated with some of this renewables, again, I'll talk about wind and solar. I am not anti-wind or solar, but it is just the principles and the practices behind them that I'm quite, I'm not happy with. Some of this are mined with child labor. Some of this are mined with slave labor. I mean, some of them are mined with women and children, especially in sub-Saharan Africa or in places in Asia. Where is our dignity? Where is our sense of humanity? When it comes to utilizing those resources, we need to ask those questions. We need to be clear. We need to be very, very transparent when it comes to those energy sources. If they are clean, if they're truly non-zero, yeah, then let's make sure if they're truly non-zero, then people should be transparent about it. If they're used or they're being built by the right labor, I mean, the first thing we'll want is for them to be built here in Appalachia, where they're using our resources.
Where it's controlled, where we have best practices, where the labor force is treated fairly, and it's not.
It is not. It's a black hole that we don't see. We just see the panels and mounted up, shiny or looking, whatever. But we don't ask the right question. How was it made? Where was it made? The other big question that never gets asked is, especially the solar that have been deployed earlier, they're starting to reach their serviceable life. Mm-hmm. The disposal of all of this material, and mind you, they're e-waste. They have chemical compounds. They have elements in them. How are we going to? What are the standards for disposing some of these things? If we're talking about environmental standards, environmental impact, there's going to be a significant number of those that are going to be reaching serviceable life. Nobody's really talking about how they're going to be handled, how they're going to be disposed. So again, that is also an environmental impact. But people are just they're conveniently just ignoring all of that. Sometimes disingenuously to actually again propose quote unquote the Y2K phenomenon.
Yeah, and we had Catherine Klaber on last week, and we kind of touched on that as well. With her founding the MSC and all of the hurdles that she had to go through to set up the environmental criteria and stipulations that our industry had to adhere to for good reason. I'm proud of the things that we do out in the field to ensure best practices. None of that has really been explored on the renewable front. There's not been anything put in place as far as what those standard practices of disposal are going to be. I mean, anything from the smallest, most minute byproduct on our side of things has an entire SOP as to how we deal with it.
Standard operating procedure.
Yeah, sorry. It's just, again, it kind of blows my mind that we're just okay with allowing this entire, and I don't have anything against renewables either. I think our very far distant future has a very mixed energy profile. I just don't think we're ready for it right now, but we are definitely running before we crawl. And the idea that we have no, standard thing, plans for these byproducts and these waste streams just is absolutely terrifying, to be honest.
Yeah, we're running into it without knowing clearly, where fully we're going. And sometimes I think some of the biggest or the largest proponents of this, outside of just people who are just looking at it from the financial benefit, but it's more or less, hey, when we get to that bridge, we'll learn how to cross it, and that is a horrible strategy, especially when we're looking at the future of our children.
Absolutely, and so in your view, with this somewhat false narrative on renewables, how do you think it's directly influencing our global energy reliance? Do you think that false narrative is kind of getting the general public, sold into, and potentially partially causing that?
It is. I'll say this: they have been very effective in their communication and in drumming up, the renewable support. And like you said, we're not anti-renewable, but they have been very, very effective in not being totally transparent. Our industry is under a microscope, an absolute microscope, from one end to the other. But in that situation, when it comes to some of those renewables, they get all the passes, and that effective communication. It's time, and that's why we started the Appalachia First. It's time for us to start speaking out. If let's start calling things to question. Why this? Why that? It's incumbent on all of us that we need to start speaking up, as opposed to just burying our heads as before and just, hey, let's just get our work done. No, these people are drumming up or creating false, like you said, false narratives. I agree. We need to call into question. We need to speak up. We need to ask them the right questions. We need to make sure that, especially our leaders, political leaders, they understand what they're dealing with. We are starting. I appreciate you guys also starting to speak up on this, but we need more of us to speak up on it.
We need all of us to speak up on this. To be honest with you, I'm a firm believer of that. And I'll touch on the policy thing in a little bit. And I've recently kind of taken some steps and forays into that arena, which is a completely different animal itself. And I've made some wonderful relationships, but I have also been very, very surprised at the lack of knowledge that a lot of our lobbyists and legislators have in regards to our industry. And, that's concerning in itself. I mean, these are individuals that are supposed to be, putting policies in place for the energy sector, and they don't have a true understanding. So that's as an aside, but it's also very important, bringing that education to those individuals that actually have the power to elicit change for us in places where change can be made. And I think CNS kind of has a similar view of that as well.
Absolutely.
So CNX has a rich history of using technology and innovation to transform our sector into a true clean energy provider. Can you tell us a little more about that?
So we have been, we've been working on technology when it comes to, energy delivery. I'll give you an example of one. It's, our partnership with the Pittsburgh International Airport. And
I've been on that site, Yemi, up there. I don't mean to interrupt, but it's phenomenal. I've never been. I was up there when you were drilling. I actually brought a star for their Christmas tree because the guys had a Christmas tree up there, and they sent me a picture of it, and they didn't have a star. So I'm like, you guys have to have a star on your Christmas tree. So I ran them a star up and took it out to location. But I mean, it was literally, Sarah, like these planes were flying. It looked like they were going to hit
like
the
Wayne's
top
World.
Do
you remember that?
The top of the derrick. Like, I mean, it's close. Your locations up there
wow.
to the airport. They're really close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, God bless your heart for that star.
They needed a star, Yemi. They can't have a tree without a star. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but so at that location or at those locations, you were saying.
So yeah, the first phase of that of our partnership with them was, extracting the resource that they have there. We've moved into the second phase. Second phase one is microgrid that is at the location, using the clean natural gas to power the entire airport. Right now, they're off the regular grid. They're using their microgrid with some solar panels also. To power themselves sustainably, but we are now morphing into another phase of that partnership, and here we are looking at transportation fuel, displacing jet fuel, displacing diesel, cargo, kind of like the ground transportation fuel, with natural gas, using CNG and using LNG when it comes to
jet fuel with LNG.
It's a proven technology.
Wow.
When
we'll have to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, airline can use LNG for jet fuel. Now that will require some redesigning. But
sure,
it is a proven technology for it to happen.
Do you think that eventually could be cost effective?
Yes, and here is the beauty of it. The technology that we are bringing to market. With regard to this, we can convert natural gas into CNG and LNG and create electricity to create LNG on site.
Wow.
Leveraging some of the characteristics of the Utica shale formation that we have out there because it's high pressure, high temperature. The technology that we're working on will be able to, leverage those properties to create those fuel derivatives. And that's what, when you were asking about the technologies that we're bringing to market, that's what we are working on as a company. It's going through testing phase right now.
That's amazing.
But that's what we're working on in, creating one, the opportunity, and two, making it low cost because as we're able to do it there on site, now you're not going through all the processes of, creating LNG or creating this on site. You can leverage it on site at lower cost, and it reduces your emission signature.
That's amazing. Yemi, I hate to do this, but we are running short on time. This has been absolutely phenomenal, and I'm so upset because I have like another 6 questions for you, which only means that we're going to have to bother you again, and you're going to have to come on and talk to us again. I think I kind of want to close with, I've always been impressed with CNX. They're kind of one of the big and originals in the area, and we are just so blessed to have you joined us today. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to share with us before we close up?
No, the discussion has been great. I think I really appreciate you guys inviting me. I wanted to share my story and also to talk about CNX and talk about our region as a whole. I think we are all invested in the success of this region. I think the more we continue to talk about it, the more we continue to exchange ideas and find solutions to continue to cause this region to flourish, the better for all of us. I appreciate the time. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Absolutely. Yemi, thank you so much.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, I want him back. He has to come back.
I feel like we ended in the middle of the most interesting chapter.
I know. But we do want to thank all of our listeners. This has been Energy First with Sarah and Jen, and we hope you tune in next week. Thanks, Yemi.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Well, this heart had steel toes on.